Welcome to the Investor Empowerment Series radio show, empowering your real estate investing with techniques, opportunities, and information, minus the BS and sales pitches. Now, please welcome the host of the Investor Empowerment Series, Joe Mueller, from the Tough as Nails Investment Syndicate, Joe Mueller.
Hey investors, I wanted to give a quick insider opportunity to the listeners out there who are currently doing deals or just getting started and looking to create more financial efficiencies for their real estate business. Introducing Investors Title Services, a much lower cost option for procuring the necessary title insurance policies for your real estate transactions. Think about how much money you've spent on title insurance in the past on either your current purchases or sales, and think about how much you'd be savings if just a couple $100s per transaction ended up back in your pocket. Well, now you can by optimizing the relationships that other investors have established that you currently need for your business. That's what we do here at Investors Title Services. If you're a fix and flipper, a wholesaler, or a buy and hold landlord, we specifically serve this small niche, offering you the best deal on title policy insurance. Call 847-443-9676 today to learn more about how you can save hundreds of dollars, if not more, on your next title insurance policy. Welcome back to the Investor Empowerment Series radio show. Today is episode number 81 with special guest Damion Lupo, who's the founder of Total Control Financial. Damion offers an alternative investment platform devoted to disrupting the typical IRA model and offering investment opportunities that give control to the individual and take control out of the hands of Wall Street. He's no stranger to the business world as well. He's developed over 40 businesses. He's gained and lost and regained his fortune multiple times and leveraged his experience into an 8-figure real estate investment business. Duh. Today he helps fellow entrepreneurs and small business owners do that as well. So, Damion, I know I just totally marred that up, but that's okay because I'm like 100% normal and natural. I don't even edit this stuff. But I appreciate you taking the time to be on the show today.
Yeah, Joe, it's good to be here. I mean, you know what? That's a great representation of what it's like to be in the real estate investment world. You go in there and you get burned and you get bloody and you're just, you work through it. And there's no perfect formula and there's no perfect deal. It's just you got to be willing to be in the middle of it and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited about just having you on and hearing more about everything you've been involved in. And we don't have to talk about all 40 businesses, but obviously you've had a lot of successes and probably some failures. What else do we need to know about you so we can learn more about who Damion Lupo is?
Well, let's just flip that one thing you said right there. I've had a lot of failures and some successes. And the reason I say that is because that's probably the most important thing that you can take away from this show, if you're listening right now, is that it's more important that you fail faster than you have in the past. And the more you do that, the more you're going to grow your confidence muscle around your ability. And that's where freedom lies. It's not about cash in the bank. It's not about cash flow. It's not about a certain number of rental houses that you happen to have. It's your confidence and your belief in yourself to go out there and be able to go through anything. And I say that because when I started, I went to a seminar in 2000 and I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And I started buying some houses based on what these crazy guys on stage said to do. Right. And so I went out and bought a whole bunch of houses. The first one was on my Visa card. And, and that is a stupid idea, by the way, to just go do it. But it doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It's a stupid idea.
Right.
And you can you really can make this stuff up in the real estate world any way you want. It's kind of there is no ceiling. There's no glass ceiling. There's no real limit. It's just your belief systems. And so at 22 years old, I just thought I could build the Great Wall of China in like 5 days. So I went out and did that.
Awesome. That's cool. Sorry, I'm taking some notes here. A lot of stuff you just said. So since you touched on it, I mean, do you want to get into the real estate stories now, or should we talk about Damion more? I don't, I'm cool with whatever. I think real estate's the way to go though. So let's do it.
Yeah, well, here's the thing with real estate. That was the first time I really honored me being me. I had done things in the past where I went to college. I got kicked out a couple of times for starting a bookstore and putting the bookstore on campus out of business. So I just realized that was not my place to be. I was an entrepreneur, and I was not meant to do the typical path that, like my parents had said, this is a good thing. It's a good, safe job you can get after a college education. I'm like, yeah, I'm starting businesses in my dorm room though, and this is not working out.
Right.
So when I did the real estate piece, when I and went to the seminar and started reading these books, I remember reading Ron LeGrand's Fast Cash with Quick Turn Real Estate, and a couple years later I was fishing with him up in Alaska. And it's funny how when you get involved in this stuff, if you really commit, you end up becoming a part of a community. And that's really, really cool. It's not just you on an island, because on an island it's pretty lonely. So
Right.
even though I ended up building up this giant portfolio, $20 million worth of real estate, it was pretty lonely. I was basically just doing it for the money. I didn't really have a community. And so I think that's one of the big takeaways, that when you're doing the real estate stuff, make sure you understand why you're doing it. Because I mean, any monkey can go make 50 grand on a house. It's not really that hard. But if it's just about the money, you're going to find yourself becoming more of a hedonist if you just keep focusing on that, and you'll end up getting old, maybe rich, but really kind of hollow. And I think that
Sure.
that was the big takeaway from me building a $20 million portfolio and then losing it and going, wait, what did I just do for the last 10 years?
Sure. How did you end up fishing with Ron LeGrand in Alaska?
That's a funny story, because I signed up for this trip that he put together, and it's in the real estate world. There's lots of opportunities to go on trips. Like I'm about to go on a trip, which by the time you're hearing this, I'm sure I will have gone on the trip with a bunch of people that I used to study and read and look up to. I'm going on a cruise, and I'm teaching with them in the Caribbean, and Peter Schiff and Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. So generally there's an opportunity to engage with people, and this is where it's all about showing up. If you just look out there and say, you know what, I look up to you, you're a pretty smart guy and you've got some experience. If you just keep paying attention, they're going to pop up with some event where you can spend FaceTime with them. And I think that's one of the most valuable things you can do, because you'll absorb them. And if that's the right person for you to absorb, get around them somehow beyond just social media. Find a way. I mean, hitchhike if you have to, but show up.
Yeah, and the statement you just made makes me recall the quote by Jim Rohn, which is, "You are the product of the 5 people you spend the most time with or you surround yourself with." Which I constantly am talking about that statement. I actually just sent out an email campaign yesterday, because we're having a networking meeting tonight at our office, and we've got a guy coming in, not to digress off of you, but just we got a guy coming in that he's done like 40 some flips. He's a local guy out of Chicago where we're based. He's got 200 rental properties. He's killing it. And, the whole message being, this is a local guy you can actually sit down and have a conversation with. He's not untouchable. He's not unattainable. So if this is what you want to do, then find somebody that does it and go talk to him, which I think is the same message you're saying, which I love it.
It is. There's a twist. One of the books that I wrote is called Reinvented Life, and there's a chapter in there called the Bucky Five. So it's my spin on Jim Rohn stuff, because Jim is one of my mentors, and I studied him for many years. I still do. So I took his 5-person thing that many people have heard that from Tony, and Tony got it from Jim, and who knows where Jim got it from. So I got it from all these guys, and I started thinking about it, and I didn't just regurgitate what I'd heard from Jim. I actually thought about how it influenced me when I was building up real estate. And when I was doing my real estate stuff, I started modeling people, and I would spend time with audios. At the time, it was tapes. And I would listen to these people, and then I would go out and find these really rich, typically they were rich guys, and I would do everything they were. I would dress like them. I basically started talking like them, and I became them. I made millions and millions of dollars. The problem was I became them. Right. And I say that because I wasn't looking under the hood. I wasn't looking at their ethics and morals, and a lot of these guys were morally bankrupt. And I became, in a lot of ways, just like them. And when everything melted down, I remember looking back in my reinvention process and going, oh, man, I don't like the guy that I was, right? Because I really became those guys. So if you're modeling, make sure you look a little deeper than just the surface level shiny stuff, how many houses somebody's done. You really want to understand what drove them, what their values are, and their mission. And if their mission was just more money, then there's a lot of the guys that are out there that have written a lot of real estate books, and it's just about the money. Unfortunately, don't follow them. Right. It's the worst possible plan, because you'll wake up and you'll be corrupt just like they are. I don't recommend that plan. That's how I ended up, and I had to rewire, and it's a painful process.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. No, great insight into that too. I never thought about it that way, but you hit it on the head, I think. So you had this experience where you built a portfolio of 150 houses in multiple states. That's what you said. You lost it through the crash. Is that what I heard?
I did. I basically harvested the seed, and I think this is something that that probably came from Jim Rohn as well. And I decided I was going to eat my seed. So I harvested equity, and I wasn't allowing these things to grow. I tried to do things too fast. And one of the fascinating things in the flipping world, you can make money. You also get taxed the heaviest when you're flipping.
Right.
And it's the most dangerous because you're trying to jam something really quickly. And if you're willing to be more of a farmer and plant seeds and grow things, it's amazing how you can actually create this incredible confidence of building something, growing something. And then that thing keeps feeding you for the rest of your life. So I would really encourage people in the real estate world to think about long term. The richest people, the wealthiest people in the world are always the ones that look longest term. The ones that are not, most of the population, we're thinking about this week. Or if you want to take it to an extreme, the crack addict is thinking about the next 15 minutes for the next high. So how far out are you looking? And the further out you look and plan and operate, that's the level of your wealth that you're going to end up obtaining in all likelihood.
Awesome. Goal setting?
It's a big part of the goal setting process. How far out and how long can you hold your vision?
Sure.
I think we're so used to this channel, this feed that we get from Facebook and these different social media that it's changing within a second or two because we're swiping up and everything is changing, and then we're chasing things. We're chasing everything that's instead of having a vision where I like the idea of becoming healthily very much obsessed with whatever matters to you, and you almost turn into an alien to the outside world because it becomes this fixation for you and your energy and your life. Find that thing and forget about the Facebook feed.
Right.
It'd be amazing how much you'll accomplish, because you're not going to accomplish jack crap if you're just focused on Facebook feeds.
Right. Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I can't stand Facebook, to be honest. That said, how does a 20-something-year-old build such a large amount of property? I mean, how did you manage that situation? I mean, for the listener out there that maybe is just getting started or is looking to follow a similar path and have 10 properties or 20 properties, whatever that may be.
One of the things that I did was I went after everything. I didn't see a house I didn't like. If it had walls, I was kind of like, hey, this is good. I'm going to go figure this one out. Here's the problem with that. I chased things everywhere in every direction, every size, and it created a very worn out version of me. And It worked sometimes. It didn't work other times. I was willing to take losses and feel the pain. My suggestion, though, is to narrow the space that you're focused on. Whatever you're doing, start narrow. It's kind of like in media with a show like a podcast. You cannot try to reach the entire population. I know Grant Cardone says, hey man, I'm going to talk to 7 billion people, they're all going to know me, kind of like that. I get that is a bad idea for all of us to try to replicate, because we need to really speak to one person at a time, and we need to deal with one area in terms of real estate. You're never going to really attract the resources. You're never really going to understand a market if you're trying to attack Chicago, residential, commercial, industrial, all at the same time. Go to a neighborhood, a couple square miles, and do a certain thing. And that's that. I ended up doing these single family homes for about 5 years, and I ended up moving from Phoenix to Birmingham and doing stuff in different areas because I thought Phoenix was tapped out. Here's the secret. You can make $1 billion in any market. I don't care if it's Omaha, Nebraska, or Chicago, or Phoenix, or Mumbai. There's $1 billion. If you want to go after it, it's in your neighborhood. It's acres of diamonds. I mean, go read the book.
Acres of Diamonds?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, cool. Good recommendation. So let's move on from the real estate. I know you've got 40 different businesses you've developed. You're into this alternative IRA model, right? Did I say that correctly?
We're disrupting the crap out of the IRA.
This disruptive IRA, disruption of the IRA model. I know we've got listeners that have IRAs. I know we've got people that are interested in investing in different alternatives to real estate as well. So let's spill it. I want to hear all about it. How did you get into it, and what is it?
So years ago, there was a guy that I have a precious metals company. I offer physical gold and silver. And by the way, if you're buying gold and silver, do not buy GLD or SLV, these ETFs, these paper metals. Get real gold, real silver. Find a good dealer like us, and go buy the physical stuff. I had somebody that said that he wanted silver, and he said he was going to use his retirement plan. And I said, I don't know how that works. What are you talking about? Ultimately, he sent me a check, and as long as the check was resulting in green some money, then I was fine sending him silver. And what I found out when I did some investigation was that you can actually use retirement money, like pre-tax money, to buy physical metals. And I thought, this is interesting. I bet you there's a lot of people that would like to use their 401k and their IRA money to actually get metals. So I dug into it, and it turns out it's very different between the IRA, because people are going, I've heard of a self-directed IRA. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the QRP. And the QRP is checkbook control of your retirement money, and it's 10 times better and more powerful than an IRA. So here's the takeaway. You're going to throw away your IRA. You're going to get rid of it if you have one, and you're never going to think about it if you don't have one. Because two things. If you want metals, you can physically hold them with a QRP. You can't do it with an IRA. They have to be held somewhere else. For the real estate folks that are listening, here's the thing. Real estate is awesome because of debt, because you can use debt and get a lot more real estate than just saving up some money and buying it. With the QRP, you can say, let's say you have $20,000 in your IRA or your 401k. If you convert that into a QRP, which is there's no tax or anything for converting it, you can take that $20,000 and go buy $1 million piece of property, get all that $980,000, get debt, cheap debt, and have this $1 million property. And when you sell that thing or you make profits, all that money stays inside your QRP. With an IRA, and this is very technical, but it's very important, with the IRA, you're going to lose 37% of that profit that's commensurate to your debt. Basically, you're going to lose 37% of your profit if you're highly leveraged. So it's because of something called UDFI. And just rewind this thing and listen to it and look up these terms, because the point is the QRP is exempt from this tax that you're going to have to pay. And the IRAs, you get hammered with it. It's the reason that you think, okay, I've only heard of the IRA, I haven't heard of a QRP, because custodians make a fortune on managing your money within the IRAs. So they're all in business to make a fortune, make their 1 or 2% on your money every year the rest of your life. So my suggestion is get a copy of my QRP book. It's free. I'm going to literally send you one. Just get a copy of it and educate yourself, because it will be such a strategic advantage. And it's not just for you to use your retirement money in this way, it's for you to be able to share this with other people. So you know what a problem is when you're in real estate? You run out of money. And here's the solution. Your neighbors and your family and people everywhere have retirement money that's sitting stuck dead in Wall Street. And if you say, hey, I have a way for you to be involved in deals, and you can be the lender. You can lend your retirement money to me for my deal. Well, they can't do that if they don't have control of it. But if they have a QRP, they could totally help you with your deals, and you could help them be safe and rich. So this is something you need to know about. Make sure that you learn more about the QRP.
How do we get more information on that free book you're talking about?
Go to theqrpbook.com, and you just literally put your stuff in there, and I'll send you a copy. And this is a physical copy, because hey, real estate and metals and things you touch, those are real investments. So I believe in a real book that you hold. If you want to go get a Kindle, go to Amazon. It's on there. But my suggestion is let me send you one and get educated.
Does QRP stand for Qualified Retirement Plan? What does it stand for?
Yes, it does. It absolutely does. And here's the other thing, too. People say, well, I've never heard of this. And I said, well, I know because people are making a lot of money off you not knowing about it. And they go, is it brand new? And I say, yeah, it's brand new. It started in like 1974. So 44 years, this thing is brand new. It's probably older than you are.
It is. Yes. Good catch. Yes. QRP 1971. That's awesome. And yeah, I've never even heard it before. So that's an interesting thing. And the UDIF tax, which we don't have to dive into the specifics of that, but Damien's absolutely right. Depending on how you leverage your real estate, you can get hit with a big tax on the backside. So for those of you who are investing in IRAs, you might want to consider checking out this book for sure. Learning more about what Damien does.
The surprise people have is when they're using IRA money and they're buying, let's say they buy into an apartment complex or like a syndication that we've done some work with and educating ourselves around. When you invest in something that has debt involved, ultimately you're going to get a tax bill with your IRA statement from the custodian at the end of the year. That's a huge problem that most people have no idea is coming.
Sure, absolutely. And they're planning on that money for their potential future retirement. So when somebody takes a big chunk out of it, it probably makes some people upset, but they just do it because they don't know what else to do, right?
Right.
Because the information isn't out there.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So how does it work as far as this? I want to talk more about the golds and the precious metals that you brought up. I mean, obviously you can buy it through the QRP from what you're telling me, and I think that's awesome. You can physically get that stuff in your hands. Like, what do you do with it? Like, make a little secret safe in your basement and bury it underneath the flower garden, or what? How does that work?
Joe, you eat it. I mean, isn't that what we're supposed to do? You eat your gold and silver when you have too much. You melt it down so it's really thin, and then you just put it on your cakes and stuff. I don't know. Here's what gold and silver is. Gold and silver is a hedge. It's a hedge against the printing. And if you look at the actual printing of currency, every currency in the world right now is fiat, which means it's just printed out of thin air and there's nothing backing it. With the exception of the Chinese yuan, which is now being traded for oil with Russia and things. So, putting that aside for a second, the truth is gold and silver has been money for a long time. It's something that cannot be printed, and it's a really, really good thing for everybody to physically have. And yeah, bury it in your backyard or get a safe. Or I mean, I think it's smart just to have it in a safe that only you know about, and it's off the grid, and it's there. 5 or 10% of your liquidity is in gold and silver, physical gold and silver. I was actually skiing recently and was talking to one of the guys there, and he said, "Yeah, I've got some gold and silver. I totally believe in it." And I said, "Really? What kind?" He said, "Well, I got it. It's this stock." And I said, "Wait, what?" So he looks it up, and the funny thing is, it wasn't actual gold and silver. It was gold mining companies. And I said, "So you don't have gold and silver?" He goes, "No, I don't. I didn't even realize that." So unless you're holding it, you really don't have gold and silver. You have an illusion.
Right. Just like the ETFs you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, one of the crazy things about the ETFs and these things that are paper gold, it's really, really hard to know whether there's the same amount of gold that they're telling you is backing that paper, or if it's not. And what we hear in the industry is that there's like 50 times more paper than there is real metals. So that just says if there's a run on the metals, they're not going to have it to actually fulfill the obligations. So if you got it in your hands, you don't have to worry about it. There's no counterparty risk. There's no manipulation because you're holding it.
Right, absolutely. You talked about the Chinese yuan at all. I don't want to get too deep into the economics of the globe, but let's talk a little bit about it. I think a lot of our listeners might benefit from hearing more about it, at least getting educated on the subject.
Yeah, definitely. It's what's happened over the last decade or so. China and India, but big time China, they've been accumulating tons and tons of gold. And they're doing this quietly. They're mining it. They're buying it on the world markets. And major central banks are accumulating. The U.S., in its goofiness, has not been doing this. We've been divesting of our gold. And Fort Knox, there's no real audit. Hasn't been in many, many years. So here's what China's doing. They're accumulating, and they did that because they want to challenge the U.S. dollar. Right now, every barrel of oil in the world is traded for dollars. It has to go through. That's the exchange.
Right.
China said, well, we want to be that currency because, hey, the U.S. gets to just print all they want. They can borrow all they want from themselves, basically. And so China said, okay, we're going to do that. We're going to trade oil in yuan. But why would anybody want to do that? Because they don't trust the yuan. Well, China said, we're going to back the yuan with gold to trade oil. And then people said, all right, well, that's pretty damn stable. If it's backed by gold, so then all of a sudden the yuan starts to challenge the U.S. dollar. And what most people don't realize is that Gaddafi was working on a project in Africa to have a gold-backed dinar, and it was going to challenge the U.S.'s dominance in this space. So it wasn't that Gaddafi became a bad guy all of a sudden. He was still part of Pan Am many, many years ago. But as soon as he started challenging the U.S. dollar, and just look this stuff up. I'm not making this stuff up. This is not tinfoil hat stuff. Just go look up the history.
Sure.
And so he got taken out. Saddam Hussein was doing something with the euro. He also wanted to push away from the U.S. dollar dominance in that space. So this isn't the first time this has happened. It's just the first time it's happened with a country that we couldn't just push down.
Right.
And China is going to push, and they're going to expand their reach, and they're doing that with the petro yuan that's gold backed. So dig into that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they didn't something just happen last week where they updated something on.
My understanding is that there were some exchanges that started to go live with this whole trading, and so it's not just an idea, it's not just a theory, it's actually happening and it's live on the markets.
Yeah, so people who are listening right now, keep that in mind, and you might want to start buying some gold and be ready for the fact that the American dollar is not going to be what it once was. Is basically what Damion is telling us. Fair statement.
It's absolutely, yeah, absolutely. It's changing. You know, there's everything cycles. We've gotten into a space where we're the best currency ish, sort of. We're like the least ugly one, and it's just because everybody's out of control with the debt and and this artificial boom that's been happening. My friend Peter Schiff is he's a big mouthpiece around this. I mean, he's been yelling about this for years, and he's not wrong. His timing is off. And it's the truth is what he's saying is happening, and it's going to happen, and it's going to impact you listening right now. So pay attention to this, because ultimately you're not going to just be able to ignore it and do your life, because your life's going to get disrupted.
Absolutely. Oh, great point. Thank you for that information on that. So let's change gears just a little bit. We already talked about the QRP. We talked about the QRP book. How does someone get more involved on the precious metal side whether or not they're utilizing a QRP? Because I know you've got that company. You brought it up before we get into the 39 other businesses that I kind of want to hear more about the story behind that. Where can someone get more information about the precious metal side of what you're offering?
So the best place to get information about precious metals is go to mygoldadvisor.com. That's where you can actually get a gold report. I think you got a copy of that, and you can download that. There's some commentary. I actually challenged Donald Trump to a debate about ISIS, and you can see that video on the mygoldadvisor.com.
Wow.
And so, if you want some comedy, there's some comedy baked into that site, and you can see what it looks like. If you're newer in the metals world, if you're curious, you'll see what it looks like to have a dealer, which my company is a focused dealer on just bullion. We don't mess with any of the other stuff. If you call one of these gold companies that you see on television, they are going to screw you over. And I tell you that because how much do you think it costs for an ad on television? It's a fortune.
Right.
And in precious metals, the bullion that we sell, we make about 2 to 3%. So you can't afford to sell that type of stuff if you have $1 million ads on television. You're going to have to sell people things that have 30 and 40% markups. And unfortunately, those companies typically are kind of screwing people over that call in and talk them into buying things that are really not good for them. So be really, really careful. Peter's got a great company. Peter Schiff has a great company. Goldmoney.com is great. Mike Maloney's company. And My Gold Advisor, we're great too. So just go with somebody that's reputable, that's only doing bullion, and learn. But the first thing is, pick up Mike Maloney's book on gold. Pick up my book on gold. Get those two books and learn. I mean, the point of all this is not to just go do something. It's to start educating yourself before you do something, and then start to do something, which you'll learn more. But if you just jump in and say, I'm throwing money at something and that's how I'm going to learn, you'll learn, but you'll probably trade spaces for the education with your money. Your money will go away and you'll learn, and that's not the best strategy.
Sure. Right. Absolutely. Cool. Oh, thank you. What else are you into with these other? I mean, you're like a serial business entrepreneur here. So what else are you into right now that you've done in the last couple of years, or since the real estate started it, right? Is that what I was hearing, or the bookstore to real estate?
Yeah, the mission that I'm on right now is to free 1 million people from financial bondage. And so everything I do is focused on that one mission. Here's a secret to being fulfilled, not just the success. It's easy to have a checkbox on your goal list where you go, oh, I bought a house, or I made some money, or I did this thing, I lost 10 pounds. Like, those are all checkbox, those are all success moments. The secret is finding the thing that fulfills you along that journey. And the problem I had with real estate, I'd buy a house, success box checked, but the fulfillment was never really there because there wasn't a deeper mission. And the mission that drives me to free 1 million people from financial bondage, everything I do is filtered through that lens, and it's also filtered through the rules of my values. And if something or somebody comes into my life, a deal or a person, a new associate, somebody wants to get close to me, and they violate those values or that mission, those things filter them out. It's an automatic no thank you. Mm-hmm. And it's not a personal thing for me. Like, I don't hate somebody, I don't hate a deal necessarily, but it violates what's more important. A mission is more important. Anybody that's been in the military understands the mission is more important than your feelings. And you have to follow the mission. The mission drives you, and it pulls you, it compels you to be greater and to be more obsessed and more driven when you're tired and you're worn out and you're bleeding. And so everything that I'm doing is about freeing people so that they don't walk around with a noose and these shackles. I mean, I saw my parents both play by the rules. Like a lot of people played by the rules and woke up at 60 years old and said, crap, I don't really have the ability to have a life that I wanted. I don't have the choices. And it was because they didn't understand money. They had the shackles still on them, and they were quote unquote retired.
Right.
I think that's a horrible tragedy, and it doesn't have to happen. So my mission, my obsession is to free people from those shackles by building their confidence muscle and setting them free.
That's incredible. I love it. I want to be one of the 1 million.
Absolutely. And you know what? And you know what? I want you to be one of the 1 million too. And I want you to make sure that you're driving your life based on a mission that's bigger than you, because it will fulfill you. And it's funny what happens. You'll start, if you aren't already, you start waking up in the morning excited to engage. You almost don't want to go to sleep at night because your brain is so excited, your body, your spirit, your soul is so pumped, and it changes things. Do you know that that most heart attacks happen on Sunday night because people are so miserable and they don't want to go to work on Monday?
I did not know that, but that makes sense.
That's terrible.
It is terrible.
People go, "What are you doing this Friday?" I'm like, "I don't know. What day is it?" I'm literally lost in the middle of my life, and it's because I've shifted away from that, and it's a choice. There's one of the greatest books I've ever read was called The Greatest Power by J. Martin Coe, and it's about the power to choose. We all choose. We choose to be mindless and walking zombies, which is basically building a life by default, or we choose to engage with something and have a life by design that we're in, not just kind of in the middle of whatever else is pulling us along. We're actually going to choose it. And I think that's the big difference between people that we look up to and have these amazing lives and the majority of folks. Most people are living a life of default versus design.
Sure. No, that unfortunately makes a lot of sense.
So what are you going to do? You're listening right now. You're like, that's awesome, but what the heck do I do? That's one of the things that people get stuck with. And right now there's so much information that's burying us. Here's another book, The One Thing. Figure out what that one thing, that one domino that is going to change your life. There's one thing, I promise you, there's one thing that will make the most difference. It'll make almost everything else either irrelevant or a lot easier. And if you figure out that one thing, I promise it's not on Facebook. Okay, it's not. You're not gonna get tweeted about this thing. There's that one thing, and for me, it was figuring out what my mission was, and my mission was driven by my values, and that created the domino that is pushing all the other dominoes down. So the businesses and the stuff, the trips, that's all part of it. Even the trip I went on with my best friend to Japan over the holidays. It was about the mission to free people. I had to have different experiences. I had to go push myself. I went to the home of martial arts, the home of Aikido, and I've been teaching for 20 years. And I went into a space of growth because for me to free people and build the confidence, I have to continue to do that. Otherwise, I'm a charlatan, which is basically a snake oil salesman that sells you stuff and they're not really living it. They're not consuming it. I needed to go do that. So part of the decision to go to Japan and train and bleed on the mat that the great grandson of the founder was teaching on, and where Steven Seagal had taught and trained, part of that was so that I'm in integrity, that I'm not just saying something that I'm not also doing. And so I'm constantly filtering everything I do through the lens of the mission and the values. I come back to that over and over so you guys really pick it up. If you don't have it, even if you have a successful business, you better figure out what the mission and the values are, because you're going to get somebody disrupting you that has a mission that's going to be 1,000 times more powerful than you, and they will crush you because a mission is more powerful than any little technique or strategy that you can ever develop.
So if someone doesn't have a mission or hasn't really identified what their values are, how do you get started down that path?
If you use our friend Google and you look up values, you're going to get a list of 200 words or something. And the idea is to figure out which ones really resonate. There are going to be ones that pop up. Figure out what those are. Okay, now you've got your values. And for me, I've got like 6. And those are the core ones that I filter everybody and everything through. And then in terms of a mission, what just gets you, what makes you crazy? What is that thing that, for me, watching my parents struggle, it was actually right before my dad died. We were having coffee up in Alaska, and we were sitting there talking, and he looked at me, and he had like 6 weeks left until he died, and he said, "I just had so many things that I wanted to do." And I was sitting there going, crap, I'm literally in tears, sad that he is looking at me and expressing regret And it was because he had this bondage, these shackles that kept him from seeing his homeland in Italy, from actually, going and walking my sister down the aisle. It was that type of pain. Usually a mission is spurred or stoked or created because of some pain in your life that you've seen or experienced. And for me, that hit me, and it was a trigger event. And I said, I've got to fix this, and I can fix it. So therefore I must fix it. And so that's my mission. So what is the thing that's triggering you? What hurts you? What hurts other people? And it makes you crazy to see. It's probably something to do with your mission.
I like it. And I'm very sorry to hear about your father.
Thanks. It was a gift, though. I mean, I think we can look at those things. And my best friend just actually had his father pass away yesterday. Oh. And this has been going on, very sick for many years. It's a great reminder of how fragile and precious and not forever that life is. And in my father's case, there were things I learned from him. There were examples and there were warnings. And it's a powerful thing to say, okay, what was the gift here? And then use that for some good, instead of being stuck in the past and being miserable about it or resentful or something. It was really a powerful gift to have that experience and to be able to use it as a launching pad.
Right. Sure. Turned it around. I love it. That's a great point. How's mom doing?
Mom's doing good.
Okay,
Mom's
good.
Still,
yes.
Yeah. Mom's still doing good.
All right. Is she free? Is she free from the shackles of financial bondage?
She's living on her terms, and so I would say that she's on her path, and that's the most we can ever ask for, somebody to be on their path. And the other truth is that if somebody doesn't want to take off the shackles, you can't take them off for them.
Sure.
And that's one of the lessons I learned, wanting to help people. I can't want it more for somebody than they want it for themselves. And it will exhaust you to try to do that. So if you've got somebody you want to help, but they don't want to help themselves, go find somebody that actually wants to help themselves, support them. Maybe the other person will come around, but otherwise you're literally wasting your energy.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense too. And I think even in the space that I'm in with what we're doing here, or the podcast, for example, is we'll call it part of my mission that I still need to formulate in my head. But helping individuals, but investors, for example, and you try to direct them down the correct path, and you spend time and energy doing that, and then they do a 180 on you and they go in a different direction, and you say, hey, well, no, but this path is like the way to do it. This is the way we need to do to flip this house. This is how to succeed, and whatever it is, market it properly and price it appropriately, and then it doesn't happen. And then you got to just shut the door, like you said, and open a new book with somebody else. Otherwise, you're going to spin your wheels over and over. Great point, though. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, absolutely. What you're saying, a great place to go with that, in my mind, is to say thank you for the opportunity for me to get better at whatever I do, whether I'm teaching or selling or just sharing, and letting go of the attachment. There's this non-attachment philosophy that you're very open. You're very open to helping people, supporting people, providing services to people, but you're not attached to the outcome. The worst sales environment that anybody ever experiences is when the salesperson is attached to the outcome and you can feel them wanting to suck you into their vortex. The person that's open to you engaging or not engaging, that's the person that you want to buy from. You're so super excited because they're so relaxed about the outcome. So just think about that, the attachment to the outcome when you're in a sales or teaching environment. It's very powerful to let go of that attachment.
Okay, awesome. Sorry, I've probably written more notes in the last 35 minutes that I've written on the podcast. They've been an hour and a half long, but I'm just writing all this stuff down. That's awesome. No, great point. Back to what you're into now. Businesses. What else has this mission led you towards as far as business? How have you done it?
So what it's leading towards is the question I asked myself after I lost my money, after I lost $20 million and I had to reboot. I was thinking about what I was doing, and I think for the most part, in large part, all of us play way smaller than we're capable of. And I realized I was doing things and I was making money and I was kind of putzing along and I was helping some people, but it was very limited. And the whole regret thing, I put myself out 50 years. So put yourself out 50 years, look back and ask yourself if this was my last week or my last month and I was looking back and reflecting, would I say, wow, I gave it everything? Or would you say, oh man, I really, really could have done a lot more? And then realize you've got the next 50 years to play it different. I realized I needed to do something that was a lot bigger in terms of impacting more people. It wasn't more money. So I still like the idea of being a billionaire, but I follow Peter Diamandis's outlook on that. And that is, a billionaire is somebody that impacts 1 billion people. And so the mission to free 1 million people from financial bondage is, there's a ripple effect, because the average person has 664 people in their network. And so the ripple effect of freeing 1 million people impacts 1 billion people. Okay. That will make me a billionaire. The side effect is the money stuff. Instead of focusing on the money, focus on the contribution and the impact. And that's why what I'm doing and teaching and building is going into a digital space with Black Belt Wealth Academy. And that's the one-on-one teaching that I do with people on a digital platform, and it's available to the whole planet, so that somebody in Kenya that makes $2 a day can literally get into this the same as somebody that's in San Francisco making $2 million a year. Wow. There is no barrier, and it's because I needed to be able to give this to the planet and not just figure out how much I could get from an individual client. That's very, very greedy. It's very, very selfish, and it's not why I'm here. And all of us have the ability to think bigger in terms of impact, not just cash. The cash will follow the impact. So think about the impact. How can you have a bigger 10x impact?
There you go. Grant Cardone. Sorry, had to pull that out. So you just mentioned something I didn't even know about. What's Black Belt Wealth Academy? Tell me more about that. Is that a way that our listeners can actually benefit from learning more from you?
Yeah, it's the entire platform where I teach financial mastery, financial literacy, and understand. I infuse the martial arts principles of Aikido and Yokido. So I founded Yokido. It's a blend of yoga and Aikido, and I use those principles when I teach finance. It's about conflict. It's about relationships. It's about a flow, and there is a flow in finance and wealth and being that you can develop through releasing tension and conflict. Unfortunately, most of us are so into conflict day to day with our work, with our families, that we get used to it and our bodies are tensed up, and so we're not really seeing much because we're in this tunnel vision state. Right. So this process of using those principles to let go of the tension and to see everything, I don't like the law of attraction. I think it's bunk. But what I do love is the law of awareness. And here's the deal. If you think really hard, a bag of money is not going to fall from the sky and hit you in the head. That's the law of attraction. The law of awareness means if you just look out and open your eyes, there's bags of money everywhere. You just have to go and see them. Right now, you're just not seeing them, but they're all around. So this training is the stuff I've been doing for about 15 years, with people one-on-one. And it's a digital training that allows you to study. And it's not just listening to me yammer on. It's literally the exercises. And here's the value of a great mentor or coach. It's somebody that asks great questions, because here's the deal, guys. The guru is inside you. You have all the answers if somebody will help you figure out what questions to ask. And that's what this training is about. It's the questions that will release the tension and allow you to see this bright world and this amazing future that you can create, and asks you the questions and gives you the exercises so you can go create it.
That sounds great. Yeah, I'm definitely interested in learning more about that myself. How does the listener find out about it?
blackbeltwealth.academy is where you're going to find us. If you don't have a pen, you got to rewind this thing to all the different things that have been dropped. One of the things that somebody told me one time was, okay, if you're talking, if there's an interview, don't give people 47 things to do, because you're going to lose them. So here's the thing: I give you what I have, and I'm gonna give you lots of resources, and that's what we've done. I mean, you've done a great job of just pulling all this stuff in, and so go and grab what resonates with you. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I've given you some really good things that you can grab onto. It doesn't mean all of them are good for you. It just means that those are things that might be the perfect thing for you to engage with right now.
Absolutely. So I know you're very personable. Now I'm watching. So for the listener, Damion and I are on a Skype video right now. So I'm watching him talking, the mannerisms and the way he kind of wordsmiths this podcast, which I love. This is a great podcast. Where can people meet you? I mean, I know you're on site. That's how we originally came in contact with each other. I mean, what events are you doing in the near future if somebody's going to be engaging in one of those events? Or what, I know you mentioned the real estate guys radio show cruise, right? I don't know if that's the correct term, but what else are you involved in that maybe somebody could actually be in, shake your hand and get to know you a little bit more?
Well, I'm sort of at an eclectic mix of places. So the summit at sea with
Summit at
the real
Sea,
estate guys, and
right.
and I work with a guy named Mark Podolsky, the Land Geek, and I so if you end up at his events, I basically like to teach with people that I like. I am
Sure.
not a whore, so I don't go out for the money.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care what the check is. I'm not going to go hang out and teach people at strip clubs how to invest. It's just not my thing. So I go to places that I feel a good vibe. And I also am at places like Wanderlust where I do yoga and teach Yokido and just those are the kind of places you can find me. If you go to DamionLupo.com, you'll actually end up seeing some of the places that I go to. I'll occasionally post that, or you can just reach out and tweet me and say, hey, where are you going to be the next few months?
Sure.
Because it's a moving target, and one thing
Right.
I don't do is sit still permanently. I think we all need to sit still for a minute or two and have stillness in our life. It's actually the last chapter in Reinvented Life is stillness. And then there's a point where you have to get off your ass and move. And so that's important for all of us to make sure that we continue to move and keep things flowing.
Love it. Love it. You brought up the book. Let's talk about the books. What other books do you have? Or talk about the books, because I recently acquired all of them, I believe, but I want to hear to make sure that I do have them all, and I'm pretty sure the listeners are interested as well, learning more from you.
Here's the very first book that I wrote is called Maverick Mistakes in Real Estate Investing, and you'll notice that I did not send that one to you, and there's a reason, because if I sent it, I would have to put a little disclosure saying, if you want to look at the worst possible book cover in the history of books, this is the book. I made this book cover on a Power software back in 2004. So I wrote this book. It was the first $1 million that I lost in real estate, and each chapter was 10,000 or 25,000. And so basically what this book is, I loved that the commentary I got, some of the feedback on Amazon was, this guy sounds like an idiot. And I was like, well, you're an idiot if you'd actually do any of the same things that I did and you didn't read this book beforehand, because what I'm doing is giving you a $10 book that can save you 25,000 for mistakes that most people end up making. And I thought that was hysterical. I'm thinking, wow. I wish I had this book. It would have saved me $1 million. So it's a terrible book cover, but the lessons are real. And the books I'm working on this year, one of them is Unicornomics. It's the behind the scene experience of building $1 billion company and how to do it and how not to do it. It's the warning and examples. And then Chris Ashby and I are working on another version of Reinvented Life, kind of the last 5 years. And so those are the two that are coming up in the near future.
Awesome. No, that sounds great. I mean, the Maverick Mistakes in Real Estate Investing, I don't really care about the cover. I want to read it. I'm going to grab it. I'm going on Amazon after this. I'm going to make sure I get a copy. That's awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty funny when I look at it and read it. There's the people, if you're really in real estate, you're going to laugh. You're going to be like, that guy made every damn mistake that's out there. and it's true. I mean, that's part of the process. If you want to go be successful, you're going to be a big flopping failure. But here's the thing. I say that. I should really say that you're going to fail your way through into the successes and fulfillment, because failure is not a noun. And that is the biggest screw up that we make, is we think, oh, if I mess something up, I'm a failure. No, you failed. And there's winners and there's learners. There's not winners and losers. Mm. I heard that from Robert Kiyosaki, and I freaking love it, because we get so wound up about this system that says if you don't make the right answer, then you're an idiot and you're a failure. And the truth is, if you make half of anything right in the real world, you are a gazillionaire. You're at the top of anything you're doing. And yet in school, you're labeled a failure and you don't even get to go to community college. Mm-hmm. So our system is really brainwashing us in a bad way. So, hey, you know what? Go make more mistakes. Make them faster. Get out there. Get dirty. Bleed. That's how you're going to grow.
That's right. Yeah, jump into the fire. Go for it. Give it a shot. I love it.
Yep.
You talked a lot about the books you've read in the past. What are you reading right now? And I don't know if there's like 17 or one, but give me an example.
A couple of books, and this is where the eclectic mix is. It's really important. One of the seminars I went to, by the way, was a dentist marketing seminar. I was the only non-medical person, I think, in this place of 500 people. And my buddy that was there is a foot doctor. So I go to places that are not in my industry. You tend to see things that you'll never see if you stay totally bubbleized in your own little space.
Great point.
And so I read, like, one of the books I just read was Wheat Belly. And it was about the wheat and understanding our food, because the truth is, if you're not healthy and you don't have a wellness plan in your life, I don't care how much money you're trying to make or that you end up making, it's not going to matter.
Right.
So I spend a lot of time on that. And the basics, the principles of how we run our lives are really important. Thus, the other book called Principles by Ray Dalio, the founder of Bridgewater, probably the best book I read in 2017, and a book I study. So those are, I'll continue reading it over and over again because it's so bloody good. That's
a powerful statement. I bought it, haven't read it yet. I'm going to dive into that one. I love it.
Absolutely.
So we're about 45 plus minutes in at this point. I want to give you the opportunity to offer up just a quick summary on the best ways for the audience to get more information about you, contact you, visit your sites, buy your books. So this is, give me your 30-second contact me pitch before we wrap it up.
You guys want to reach out to me, go to DamionLupo.com. Right. Everything is there. It's the simplest, fastest, most direct way, and you'll find anything you want.
Perfect. That was about 4 seconds. I'll take it, though. That's awesome.
Simplicity is best.
Yeah, no, I love it. You're right. So that's about all we got time for today. I really, really, really appreciate you taking the time to explain everything you discussed about starting off in the bookstore world in college and building a real estate portfolio of $20 million and being candid enough to discuss how it disappeared and how you reinvented yourself again and all the things that you're into. So I just want to say thank you for your time, and I really appreciate it. I know our listeners got a lot out of this. I got like 5 pages of notes here, so I'm going to put together some remarks that I'm going to put on the show notes. And man, I hope to see you soon at another event. Thank you for your time.
Sounds good. I look forward to seeing you too, Joe. Thanks so much.
Thank you. All right. We'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Investor Empowerment Series radio show. Be sure to tune in next week for another empowering episode. We welcome your feedback, so please rate us on iTunes and Stitcher and visit us at www.investorempowermentchicago.com or tennisgrouprealty.com.